to the Above Average Joe Show. Today we have an amazing guest that has been doing casting for quite a while, has worked on different films such as Hunger Games and the Divergent Series, worked on the new Godzilla that's coming out, and today's guest is JAMIE LYNN CATRETT.
Hey guys! Woo! Yeah! Hey guys, thanks for having me, Joe.
You're welcome. And as always, I am your host, Joe.
You now do not have as clever as you think.
Whatever pays your bills. JAMIE, thank you for being here so much.
Of course.
To be honest, you are probably the one person I know the most out of all of our guests for this first season. So this could be very interesting, and I will try not to divulge too much information about you.
Okay. Let's keep it to
We
a
both have
minimum.
a lot of dirt, so we don't want to air either of our dirt out. We are going to go ahead and find out how you got into working in the film industry, because the one thing that I love is that every single person, no matter where they're at in the film industry, typically has some sort of different story, unless they went to film school and went straight into film.
Right.
That one's the typical story, but going into casting is not something you typically go to school for.
Right, there is no school for it. So I grew up as a theater kid. Spent many years in the theater. I was doing professional theater by the time I was 16. By the time I was 18, I had a film agent. And I actually tricked the agent into letting me work for him. And I worked for him for many years. And then I finished school. I took a little time off from working at an agency. And once I graduated, it was 2008 when I graduated from college, which, as you know, was the housing market collapse.
Yeah.
And so, even though I had graduated top of my class, there were absolutely no jobs. So I got a job working at another agency in town, AMT, which is Atlanta Models and Talent. It's the longest running agency in the Southeast. I was trained by Sarah Carpenter and Kathy Hardigree. And Kathy was Samuel L. Jackson's first agent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she was intense. She made me read, like, these huge SAG books. It was extremely intense training. Eventually, Sarah bought the agency, and I'm still friends with Sarah to this day. So I have a great connection with several agencies in town, but I kind of feel like AMT was my home for a little while. So I trained there for about a year and a half.
Did you ever cross paths with Sammy?
No. So by the time I was there, she was no longer his agent. He had already moved and all that. But
he was already on his 400th project.
That's exactly right. So from there, I got a job offer to be manager of operations of an acting studio in town. And while I was there, I met Bill Marinella, who is a casting director in town, and he's one that I listed earlier. He's still a good friend of mine, but I got into the casting side that way. So it's really been a slow journey since I was a kid to where I am right now. It's been a lot of hard work, obviously, but yeah, I've spent most of my life, more than half of my life, in either the theater or the film and TV industry.
And then after Bill, you started your own company.
That's right.
With a partner.
Yes.
And grew very fast.
Yes, we kind of exploded. As soon as we started our own company, we were offered Neighborhood Watch, which was a huge movie at the time. Within less than a year of having our company, we had Hunger Games. We just...
Small little film that
you
may have heard of at some point.
Rose and I, still good friends, like I talked to her this morning, we were extremely hard workers. Extreme, as you know from working with me. We work 100 hours a week often, sometimes more. And we put in the...
And that's not an exaggeration for anybody listening. It's literally logged 100 plus hours.
That's right, yeah. And we had the connections, and we just made it happen,
What were some of your favorite projects that you've done over the past, I guess since you started with Bill up until now? What are some of the fun ones that you had, or some of the ones that you're proud of, or...
Working on some of Dolly's projects have been the most influential to me, just because growing up, she was always my hero. And I never thought, I was thinking about this the other day, I never thought when I was a little girl listening to all of her songs that I would one day be able to work on some of her movies.
Are you going to sing Jolene for us now?
I can't sing that. I'm tone deaf, people. Don't put the pressure on me. And so working on her projects was a dream come true. Absolutely a dream come true.
And it's been several projects now. It wasn't just one project
No.
and Dolly was gone.
Yeah, no.
She came back for more from you.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that I put a lot of extra work into those projects just because it was, you're amazed that you're working on something like that. So of all the projects I've done, I would say that, and I'm sorry for offending anybody, but she's my hero.
There's always got to be a favorite.
No
matter how many children you have.
No, you know that I don't even have a favorite color because I don't want to hurt the other color's feelings. But that one has been super influential in my life.
And did you ever get to meet her? I know we went to set one day with Ices, trying to meet up with her just to get a glimpse
to look
in
at
person.
Her, right? So I did actually get to meet her on this last project that I worked on. She's the nicest person I've ever met, by far. I mean, there is no fakeness about her. She was kind and loving, and she's a unicorn.
Semi-random question.
Sure.
Who was taller?
That's so mean, Joe.
It's not mean.
That's so mean.
It's not mean, because...
First of all, Dolly always...
You both are as cute as a button, so it's not mean.
She always wears heels. Always. I think she might sleep in heels. I don't know. But so,
they've just grown attached. They don't come off anymore.
So I'm 5'1.5", and she's naturally shorter than I am. And that 1/2 counts, people, for whoever's listening to this. She's naturally shorter than I am, but I didn't have heels on that day, so...
So you could totally body double or stand in, given a wig. if you wanted to cast yourself in something, you could totally play Dolly Parton on screen if you weren't so busy. Obviously, if you weren't so busy.
I would say that I would have to find someone else to double for her, just for other reasons that I won't go into in this podcast. But that would be a dream come true, too.
Cool, awesome. We are going to go ahead and take a break from this. We will be right back after a couple words from our sponsors. This episode brought to you by Mountain Dewin, the new piddle-flavored drink straight from the mountains of Boston. Mountain Dewin, how you doing? Welcome back to the show. We are still here with JAMIE LYNN CATRETT, one of the best casting directors in town here, along with the other 7 that are awesome. That she already listed.
You guys are awesome too.
So, what is your exact title in film? What do you do?
I am a background casting director, which basically means that my job is to pick out people that go into film or TV series, and I decide all of the non-speaking actors for the entire film or entire TV series. So if someone's in a film and they aren't speaking, that means I put them there.
Typically.
Typically, yes.
I don't think Silent Bob got his job that way, but...
Well, sometimes people do sneak themselves onto a set, but I'm not in control of them.
And beyond just the background, too, you also cast for other positions, such as like stand-ins and photo doubles and stuff like that. What are some of those positions, and what do they do on the set? And what do you look for when you're looking for a stand-in or a photo double?
Okay, so a stand-in matches an actor via skin tone, hair color, and height. Their job is to stand in for an actor when an actor's getting ready in hair and makeup. So basically, they stand on a mark or do the actor's actions for the DP, which means director of photography.
And how much acting skills do they actually need to do this position if they're going to be in place of that actor?
So you don't necessarily need any acting skills. You do have to be hyper vigilant about paying attention to when an actor does. Like, if an actor uses his right hand in a scene, you have to make sure that you use the right hand in the scene. So you have to basically just be able to pay attention and mimic what that actor does. Some of the best stand-ins I've ever had were writers, because they're quiet and they just like to watch everybody. Models, because they are used to not talking very much. Stand-ins are treated like crew, basically. They become a part of the family. Stand-ins have to be extremely responsible. The best stand-in I've ever had was Matthew Eldridge. I knew I was going to say that name.
I knew it. And we've actually had him on our other podcast.
Oh, you did? Yeah, he
actually
wrote the book on standing in.
Like, literally.
He actually wrote the
book.
But he would show up an hour to an hour and a half early before his call. He would completely memorize the words even. Sometimes DPs want you to say the actor's lines. So in those circumstances, I would say that it is necessary to have some degree of at least acting classes or a theater background to be able to complete the job.
Have you ever had someone go in where they wanted the lines recited and they were like, this person can't act, find me a different stand-in? You don't have to name names. I'm just wondering if it's ever occurred. When I worked with you, we never had that happen as far as I know, that
Right.
was the reason that somebody was fired.
So stand-ins get fired all the time, but it's normally not because of that. It's normally because they're late. The most important thing that a stand-in can do is show up early, because their entire job revolves around being there before the actor is supposed to get there. So usually it's because they're either talking too much, they are talking to the actor too much, or they are late. It's almost always because they are late.
Or not being where they're supposed to be.
That's yes.
been a huge issue before, too.
Right. Yeah, I mean, when you're a stand-in, you can't even go to the bathroom without telling someone. That's one of the interesting things about being a stand-in is you have to ask to go to the bathroom. And you can't go if it's not a good time.
It's more of a courtesy to production that you're asking. It's not that they're trying to control you. It's that they need to know where you're at in case they need you.
Right. Exactly. I mean, they're not trying to control your entire life.
Yeah,
but
they don't want to control your bladder. It's more of production and trying to get things filmed than you're not allowed to pee because we don't want you to.
Right place, right time for everything, including the bathroom.
And then photo doubling. What is the difference between photo doubling and stand-ins, and what do you look for photo doubles?
So with a stand-in, you have to match the skin tone, the hair, and the height. But with a photo double, you actually have to look very similar to the actor.
And why is that?
Because you will be portraying that actor on screen. It could mean something as simple as picking up a book. It could mean that you're driving a car. Essentially, you are playing that actor on screen. Usually, we have access to wigs or, fake facial hair.
Bald caps.
For
red-headed, bearded people.
Exactly. Don't even get me started on that one. I still fear that in my mind. But you have to match their build. You have to usually put on a set of their clothes. So you have to more closely resemble a person. And sometimes the people that we pick have absolutely no experience. They just look like that person. So we get them on set and we coach them through being that person.
And do you sometimes hire the same people for the stand-in as the photo double, or do they sometimes pull them to photo double if they decide to, hey, let's throw in some hand shots here today? Or do they end up calling you again? It's like, hey, we want to do shots tomorrow. Find us a set of hands that look like these hands.
So sometimes the stand-ins are close enough that they can be photo doubles. So they would be listed on our skins, which is basically just a list that we send to production as stand-in/photo double. That's the ideal scenario, is when your stand-in looks so much like the actor that they can photo double. But sometimes even when they do look like them in the face, the body, the skin tone, the hair, their hands might not match. So we may have to find one photo double for their hair, another photo double for their body, and another photo double for their hands or their feet or elbows or, I mean, you know, you name it.
Whatever you need.
Right, you name it, we've had to have a photo double for. A butt photo double.
I was going to say, I have a butt double that's coming in a couple days that I'll be recording a podcast with. He's got a great story about Owen Wilson's butt double.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's a way to get
it's
paid.
Whatever, yep.
Yeah.
Whatever pays your bills. And that you're comfortable with.
Yes.
And they let you know ahead of time, too, right? That if you're going in as say, a butt double or a full-fronted, naked double running 3 miles down the road, you're not going in blind and all of a sudden, oh, yeah, you need to take your clothes off.
I would say that I always let people know. I've heard horror stories of other casting companies accidentally not telling them and them showing up and they're supposed to be naked or, you know, just something they're completely uncomfortable with. But it does happen. I've never experienced it happening. I'm going to knock on wood right quick.
That's because you're always prepared, too, which helps a lot.
Well, I try to be on top of try to be on top of things, as you know. But it has happened. And sometimes, you know, people would refuse. I would refuse if I showed up and it was something completely different. But usually the rates are way higher for any sort of minimal clothing or nude scenes that you have to be in.
And then what about matching people with, like, strange hair? Because I know, like, working on Divergent and Insurgent, we had guys with mohawks, we had guys and gals with shavings in their head. And where do you find the people that are willing to shave their head into a mohawk on Christmas Eve?
I will not say that one was easy because it wasn't easy. So we have a huge database of people, as you know. It's like 150,000 people. Recently on a series, which I will not name the one, we had to find a female willing to play a male that would let us dye her hair 3 different colors and shave it to male hair length, typical male hair length.
I would totally do that if I was a female, but I'm not the
not
the norm necessarily.
So she already had short hair, so we approached her with it, and she said yes.
Is that temporary dye that they use then, or is that
permanent?
Or?
That was not temporary dye because we had to make it look exactly like the actor. So you just start by getting someone that is similar enough, but may not have the necessary hair requirements, and you just ask them. And you ask as many people as you have to until they finally say yes. I will say that in those instances, production gives us a little more money to be able to, you know, compensate them for completely changing their look, because that may put them out of the running for other jobs for the next week or 2 until they can get their hair dyed back to the original color. Or shave their head into a mohawk, you know, whatever we need. But yeah, it's basically just having a huge database of people, and you start to know your clientele and what they're willing to do. That's part of being good at our job, is knowing who is willing to change up their look or willing to show a piece of skin, or, you know. In this instance, we have used this girl many times to play men, and she's very thin, and so it's very easy for her to do. She already has short hair, and it just worked out.
Nice. And what if you get the really, really tough ones and you're having trouble? Can you contact hair and makeup to try and work something out? Or, like, we can't find a girl that's got short hair that's willing to do this. Will they find a tri-colored wig?
So, I mean, you're always working with the hair and makeup department in general, so you're texting with them every day normally. In this specific one that I was just talking about with the 3 different colors, we found out that morning that we needed her for that night. I know you're looking at me because you know how stressful that was. It took 4 people to find her, I will tell you that.
How many hours lead did they give you on that? Was that like, we need her in 6 hours, we need her in 2 hours, or was that, well, we're shooting at 8 o'clock, it's an overnight shoot. How much time? So
we found out about 10 o'clock that morning that we needed her at 6 o'clock that
Oh, wow.
evening.
So you had 8 hours.
Yeah, 8 hours. Plus, we were doing everything else for the show that day. So, in that instance, the hair and makeup department couldn't have helped us out at all. They didn't have time to get a wig. They didn't have time to...
Where would you buy a tricolored wig?
You'd have to buy it and dye it yourself.
So, for the listeners out there that are finding this interesting, that have never done this before, where do they find these jobs? Is there a standins.com that they can go to? Is there an app that they can go to and find this? Or where do they search for this?
What you want to do is locate background casting companies in your area. For us, they would go to CL Casting on Facebook. But you could also go to other background casting companies like ECA, Tammy Smith, Rose Lock, Bill Marinella, Hume Casting.
Which are all Atlanta-based.
For
anyone asking, these are the Atlanta-based people.
Yeah, I'm actually naming my friends. So
free plugs for everybody.
I hope they don't mind. So you would find them on social media. That's where a lot of these casting companies really generate a lot of their followers from. And each casting company has their own way of pulling people into their database. If you go to our Facebook, for example, right now we probably have a bunch of jobs listed, and it'll tell you exactly how to submit, what you need, which is usually, as you know, 3 photographs, your phone number, age, height, weight, and sizes sometimes. So that's the way. Just follow them on social media, and they'll guide you to which way they want to receive submissions.
And how far out can you live for it to still be, I don't know, reasonable to take one of these jobs? If you're going to be a full-time stand-in on a movie, are you going to hire somebody from Arkansas? Are you going to hire somebody from New York? Are you going to hire somebody from only within the state that on their driver's license says that they're from Georgia?
So right now, one of the major projects that we're working on, which again I cannot mention, we've hired people from all over the country for it. I would say that what really matters is how much that person wants to do it and how much they're willing to sacrifice. Some people will stay with friends in the Atlanta area while they're filming something. For a stand-in job, though, we would probably want to hire an Atlanta local. For gigs that work a couple of days and they're featured, people fly in all the time. They'll get a hotel and they'll, Uber everywhere and just work the job. In that instance, they're probably losing money, but they're doing it for the experience. So we usually leave it up to the person to decide whether or not it's worth it to them, because I don't know how much it means to them, As you know, when we were working on with our last major project, we had people coming from all over the country begging us to work, and they were willing to pay whatever money for a plane ticket, for a hotel, to be able just to be in the film.
And what's the furthest that you've gotten somebody? Has it been worldwide? Have you hired people that have written in Chinese and it's like, I want to be in your next movie? Because they love, I don't know, Sandra Bullock so much that they decide to come over, and this is the only time that they've ever seen her name, or whoever's name. We've never actually worked with Sandra as far as I haven't.
We have to hire people that can legally work in the United States. So the furthest that we've ever hired someone would probably be Hawaii, because they can still work in the United States. Do we have people trying to work with us from all over the world? Absolutely. Every day. People are writing us trying to work, but we can't legally hire them unless they have the ability to work in the United States.
That makes total sense. Cool, awesome. Let's go ahead and take another quick break, and we will be right back. Welcome back, everybody. And I know quite a bit about you, just having worked with you for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And
for a while is an understatement.
For 8 or 9 years. But something that a lot of people may not know is that you have a degree in psychology. You also have a minor in chemistry.
That's right, yeah.
You have made your own Brazilian nut milk. You've tried growing your own earthworms. You have taken up calligraphy.
It's true.
And on the last break, I remember you asking me, which I don't even know if you finished pursuing this, but you were like, what language should I learn next?
Yeah.
I've got 3 months. I'm going to learn a language.
I think I ended up taking salsa dancing in that time instead of learning a language, but I did start learning French. I just love learning, the process of learning. I love reading. I love knowing a bunch of different things, and it has led me to forming earthworms, to trying to fix my chicken scratch and learn calligraphy, to being in a dance studio. As you know, I have a background in dance, so that was just a fun outlet for me.
And you went from being teacher way back in the day.
That's right, yeah.
And now you are the student learning new dancing.
So when I was in high school, I was actually a tap dance teacher, and I taught ballet to like little 3-year-olds. I know, it was so cute.
Did you have 3-year-old performances and everything?
Yeah, you have little 3-year-old They're not very good, but
because they're 3 years old.
Because they're 3 years old, but they're trying. And
Was it like a whole production of the Nutcracker that you would put on, or was it just like a quick, here's a 3-minute tap dance or a 30-second tap dance, or what kind of presentations would they do?
So at the end of the year, you have what's called a recital, and every division usually performs at the recital. So you'll have 16-year-olds performing one moment, and then you'll have 3-year-olds performing the next. And sometimes you perform, like the Nutcracker. So you would have the little itty bitties being, like gumdrops or something, and you'd have the older people that are more experienced playing the main roles. But they're supporting characters, and they're going to get there one day.
Well, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere. Yeah. Gumdrop, whatever.
And it helps them get rid of that fear of performing and fear of being in front of people and the stage fright.
Right, I was going to say stage fright, yeah.
That was the word I was trying to think of, and came up with 5 other things to describe it.
But yeah, it gets rid of the stage fright. It gets them used to being in front of other people and having people stare at them. Although when you're on stage and the bright lights are hitting you, they usually have everything blacked out, so you can barely see people anyway. Mm-hmm. But it just gets them used to, a life on the stage or, transitioning into the film industry.
And do you think it's easier to train the youngsters while they're still young, or is it easier to train the older, say, teenagers or tweens now that they have a better understanding, or is it just a totally different monster comparing the two?
It's a totally different monster. With the kids, it's really about getting them to focus. That's the hardest part, is getting them to focus. And then as you get older, it's about perfecting what you know. It's levels. You move up, and as you get older, to me it's more fun because you can teach them better technique or, cool things that look better than just waving your arms on a stage or plieing or whatever,
Or a gumdrop just standing there.
Yeah, they're trying. They're doing more than standing, Joe. But to me it was more fun to teach the older kids tap. I was teaching probably 12-year-olds tap when I was like 16, 17 years old. So, and I love tap. Tap was my favorite, so.
I'd have to say one of the, most enjoyable things that I've ever seen on stage was a production of the Nutcracker, where all of the rat army was like 4 years old and younger.
Aw, cute.
And the way that they did it is they had one adult that was dressed up as a rat, and each person behind there, or each child,
that was the Rat King, probably,
was holding their tail.
Aww.
So they just did a whole little snake loop around the stage.
They're baby rats.
And everybody at the same time when they came out was like, oh.
I mean, it's hard for it not to be cute, yeah. So see, you can always incorporate the little kids into the older people's production. Yeah. And it's good because you start to see a standard for which you wish to aspire, But yeah, you can always incorporate the little kiddos in.
And that is the reason I brought all of that up, is because your constant wanting to learn and teach people has always been something that I admired about you.
Thank you.
Working with you, just random things. Hey, we need to find, a lumberjack. And by lumberjack, and you would go into the explanation of what lumberjacks do in their daily. Well, there got to be this, and this, because technically with the lumberjack regulations, they can't be under this height. They have to be within this weight range, and all of this other stuff. And I would constantly be learning with you over and over different things. But also one of the things that I admired about you was that you love to help nonprofits. You love to give back to the community. You love to do things for people who, for some reason or another, just could not do for themselves at that moment.
Right.
What are a lot of the things, or some of the things? You don't have to name a lot of the things. We'd be here for hours for all of the nice things you've done.
As you know, it's kind of built into our company, nonprofit work. I actually pay people when they are doing nonprofit work as much as they would get paid if they were working for me. My stepfather was a preacher, and we always did stuff for the community or, people that were in unfortunate situations at that moment. And I think that really breathed life into who I am as a person and shaped me from a very, very young age. Some of the things that we've done, we work a lot with Brandy Angel and her foundation. You and I have dressed up
Be the Change?
Yeah, Be the Change. Brandy Angel, Be the Change Foundation. It's a long foundation name, but that's the one that we work with most often.
And for anyone curious about that, you can find her on Facebook by just typing all of that in.
Yeah, I think she goes by BIF sometimes, but just type in Brandy Angel. She's also a photographer, so you can find her anywhere. But we've dressed up as elves and princesses for... she does a lot of work with children at the Atlanta Children's Hospitals around here. When Houston went through their hurricane, we shipped 2 tractor-trailer loads of supplies to them. We worked with a bunch of the productions that we were on and just grabbed a bunch of materials and sent them everything from water to dog food to clothes.
And it wasn't just productions you had reached out to, too.
That's right. We reached out to background. We reached out to restaurants. We worked with the Nook on Piedmont, and they let us drop off stuff at their place.
Until it overflowed.
It was overflowing. I was amazed by just people's hearts,
Because we thought we'd get, maybe one moving truck.
Right.
So maybe, a 10-foot bed, 12-foot bed, 14-foot bed, maybe?
No. It just kept expanding and expanding.
And it was 2 tractor trailers worth.
2 tractor trailers worth of stuff.
That we also had to collect from sets, because sometimes they would just collect them on set and say, hey, we've got stuff, come pick it up.
That's right. And, one major film that we were working on that's huge and is about to come out gave us 2 pallets worth of food for dogs, dog food. So it's just amazing how much the film community really comes together whenever you ask for things. Sometimes we work with productions, and we will, on the last one that we worked on, no, actually, some of the last couple that we've worked on, if we have to fill a stadium of people, we will ask a bunch of nonprofits to bring people to us. And in exchange, we will donate money per head. So in that, we usually work with about 20 different nonprofit organizations, like Make-A-Wish. Make-A-Wish I actually loved working with, and they made me one of their wish granters after that. And they're like, everybody. If I ever need anything, I'm going to come to you.
Which is true.
One of my favorite nonprofit things was when we worked on Robert the Great. It was a kid that was in stage 4 cancer, and he wanted to be Superman for the day. So Brandy called me, and she was going to take him to some place where you just let him fly and put him on a costume. And I was like, no. We're going to do much more than that. So we contacted some of the local stunt players, and they turned out like nothing I've ever seen before. We had this kid in a rig. He had this amazing costume. We had a videographer there. We had Brandy Angel there. She was the one running it. So we had a photographer there. And then we had Spider-Man's stuntman come out and perform for him. I mean, it was, there were no dry eyes watching this whole thing. So that was probably my favorite one. Other things
And we had the news people come out and cover that too.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, actually I don't even know how they found out about it, but they...
Yeah, because it wasn't through any of us.
Mm-mm.
They just kind of showed up and was like, hey, do you mind if we film this?
That's right, yeah.
Word just gets around.
It's true.
You do something nice and word gets around.
It's so true.
So for people that are wanting to get their name out there, I mean, it's going to be kind of selfish reasons if you're doing it that way, but do something nice for somebody. Do something generous. Give back.
It's true.
And people will remember that. And it's a lot better to be remembered for the good things that you've done than being, I don't know, the drunk asshole at the bar or something.
Aww.
Do good in your life. That's my bottom line of what I'm trying to get at.
Not said so eloquently, but we get it, Joe.
And then also things that we did that were not even film related or nonprofit related that I enjoyed too is Krispy Kreme. Free plug. If you want to donate to us, feel free. We will accept your money as a sponsor. Because right now we have no sponsors. As you probably know, all of our commercials are fake, so don't try and Google them and get mad at me because you can't find them. But Krispy Kreme would always, every year, have Dressed Like a Pirate Day.
Pirate Day, yeah.
And so if you come in and just talk like a pirate, you get one free donut, which people will come in, arg, give me my donut.
Yeah.
And they get their free donut and they walk out.
Right.
But what we decided to do was to go to a couple of different Krispy Kremes, and we also dressed up, full costume, head to toe as pirates, at which point they give you a free dozen donuts, and there were 3 of us. So it was me, you, and Julie that all got dressed up, and we ended up with like
a car full.
9 or 12 boxes of donuts.
It was a lot of donuts.
And we just went around town just giving them to people. And it's like, we've got free donuts. We just want to hand them out and put smiles on people's faces.
Spread a little
brighten
joy.
Their day.
Yeah.
And then another thing that we did was we would go out and feed homeless people.
Yep.
And
do you
apparently
remember?
It's becoming illegal now from what I've heard.
Well, do you remember what we made one time that they absolutely loved?
I have it written down because it was your idea. And I was like, seriously? Because at the moment, I was not a fan of bologna.
Yeah. You
changed my mind and my life.
We made hot bologna sandwiches, and we wrapped them up to keep them warm, and we put them in little baskets so that they would stay warm, insulated. And then
we fried them.
We fried them
on a flat top.
Yeah, we did.
In a production line.
Look, I'm Southern, so we fry everything. But we kept them warm, and that food would they just looked at us like this was such a good idea, and I turned Joe around, and now he understands the fried bologna sandwich.
And we even had homeless people that would turn around and come back and ask for more because they were so used to getting peanut butter and jelly.
Right.
Or what I started out doing was hot dogs.
Yes.
And then it's like, it's the same food over and over. I was like, hot bologna.
Yeah, they loved it.
It was revolutionary for them.
It was revolutionary. It was a good idea. Apparently illegal now, but
Well, I don't know if it's illegal yet. I just saw that they were trying to pass some laws. I don't know if they ever passed them yet, to make it illegal to feed homeless people because they want to try and deter the homeless community and not feed them and keep them homeless. They want to try and get them out there finding jobs and doing other things. So it's the government's way of doing something half-assed.
I don't know that I don't know if I agree with that. I mean,
yeah, I don't either. No. Some of them aren't there by choice, so it's not like, oh, they could get
I don't
a
think
job,
most people are there by choice, you know. It's not.
And just trying to spread cheer. I don't think that should be illegal to make somebody happy.
Right.
It's just one way that, I don't know, some people have it backwards now that, oh, you're doing something good. You need to stop that because it's too good. And I don't know, maybe they're feeling bad because they're not doing it. Who knows? People have their reasons, but...
Well, don't send someone to jail for that, people, please. That's not good.
That's not what we're trying to say. Get your friends arrested for doing good. But let's go ahead and take another quick break, and we will be right back. Welcome back, everybody, and we are about to go on a time trip. We are going to go to Ready, Set, Life, Go in our Ready, Set, Life, Go time machine. Jamie Lynn is still here with me.
I'm a little confused about what's going on, but I am still here.
So if you want to go ahead, crawl in the back seat, I will drive and get us to our time destination.
Okay.
And we've come to a stop. And let's see where we are at. We are, wow, this is probably about 9 years back that we've gone.
Ooh.
We are on the set of Anchorman 2.
Mm-hmm.
This is an ice skating scene that you can actually see in the movie.
Yes.
And this is one of the first scenes that we filmed with, at least with our core group. I don't know if it was one of the first scenes total for the film.
Yeah.
I think there might have been a couple more before it, I feel like. But they had just got their core group for GNN together.
Mm-hmm.
And I was picked as one of those people.
That's right.
This is one of the, well, not the first, because I think American Reunion was the first one we worked on.
That's right.
And Internship, I think, was before it. So I think this might have been like number 3 or 4 project that we were on.
Yeah.
So anyways, Anchorman 2, set in the early 80s, late 70s. I think they were shooting for like 1981, at which point men had a lot of facial hair a lot of head hair. And the number 1 rule that we were given, that if we were going for these roles, do not cut a single hair on your head.
Do not
shave your face.
That's right.
Do not
for
touch
months,
any of it.
We made you guys grow your hair out.
4 months, I remember. Because it was from approximately December. It was like just before Christmas that we got picked.
Right.
So I had a friend that was visiting. And then we started filming, I think, in March. And through that entire time frame, it's like, you don't cut anything on your hair.
No. Or
we will let you go.
That's right.
And scared to death because this is still early on in my film career.
Right, yeah.
That I took everything very, very seriously.
As you should have.
Yes. So for me, it was a matter of life and death.
Right.
And
we made you guys send us updates too. We'd make you send us hair and facial hair updates.
Because you wanted to see the growth.
That's right, yeah.
And when we got to set, nobody had warned me, hey, hair and makeup may have another idea of what they want. We were just told to match the photo that we sent in, and for me, it was chops.
Yes.
I had chops going all the way down to my chin and the mustache.
Yes.
And that grew out for 4 months. It was at least 2 inches long, so it was a big, burly, fluffy head.
Fluffy, yes, lots of fluff.
I get to set, and the very first thing that they do is they put you into your wardrobe, and then they send you to hair and makeup. When I got sent to hair and makeup, the lady's like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and shave all of this off. This is just way too much.
Yeah.
At which point it's like, no, you are not touching any of this because I do not want to lose my job.
Yes, that's true.
You don't hire me. Jamie hired me. I am not letting you get fired because I was hired for this facial hair. I grew it for 4 months. This is not going anywhere.
Joe was crying. Let me just say that Joe was crying. He called me in tears.
I was in tears.
He was in tears, yeah, and because they didn't want everyone to have that long of facial hair, so basically they need to cut certain people's, and Joe was selected to have his beard.
Have it shaven.
Yeah, but what did they end up doing, though? You ended up having...
Well, during the phone call, what I did is I was on the phone with you. I was already in wardrobe. I just started walking to set. And just completely ignored hair and makeup while I was talking to you. Because I was like, oh, she'll straighten this out. She'll let them know. She knows what she's doing. She's on top of this. But hair and makeup, as far as hair and makeup goes, has the last say in hair and makeup.
That's
which
right. Yep.
I did not know at the time.
Right.
So at that point, I actually got stopped again by hair and makeup when I got to set. They're like, no, you need to come back with us. Yeah. So I went back and I was texting you at that point because you couldn't take phone calls the entire night for one crying little Asian boy. They finally got me back there. And it was actually at that point that I was more in tears than anything. Is she got her razor out. She turned it on. She literally put it like right to my face, barely touched me. And tears just started rolling down my face because I thought for sure I was going to get fired after you saw me. Yeah. And I don't know how in the communications of things that it wasn't like, hey, Joe, no, it's okay. Somehow you were just like trying to stop me from crying. So I know. Like, let hair and makeup do what they want. It was like, you're okay. Take a deep breath.
You're fine.
Relax. It's okay.
Fell back on my psychology degree for that one.
Maybe through the tears you were telling me that, but for some reason it wasn't clicking. But somehow they got me in the chair, and literally as soon as she started shaving me, I started bawling, and she's like, "Do you need a moment?" And I could barely get out the word yes when she was doing it.
Yeah.
Because for me, it was like, this was 4 months' work that you are now throwing out the door.
Are you tearing up right now?
I still have harbored memories of this. I'm still in character.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, it was, to be clear though, all of the people that were selected to grow their hair out for this long had what's called recurring featured roles, which means we knew they were going to be close to the camera, so they had to have longer hair, and some of them had to have beards. Didn't you end up having long chops, though?
No. They kept the sideburns to about ear length. And we all had to take photographs of it and keep it that length because we were filming over 3 weeks.
That's right, yeah.
And for me, 1 month is 1 inch of hair.
Yeah.
So had I not had those photographs, I would have had 3/4 of an inch of hair growth back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they had to use those for reference, and they kept the mustache.
Okay.
That was going from
yes, I remember now.
lip to lip.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a short mustache. Most of the people that I came in contact with that had no idea what was going on, it's like, nice porn stash.
Oh, no.
Because everybody in the 70s and 80s had a porn stash.
Yeah.
That's just.
But see, you couldn't have had that if you hadn't grown it out for that long. So it wasn't for naught.
So yay, thanks for the porn stash, Jamie.
You're welcome.
And yeah, I sat there crying, and everything ended up okay. And once we actually got to set, the director loved me. He loved my look. He loved how I was reacting with everybody. So they stuck me into this featured spot at one point to where he's like, "Okay, here's your mark. Cameras will be on you. Here's what I need you to do."
Right.
And it was a part where I got to actually like act and react with the stars, which for me was huge.
That's a big deal.
It was still at the beginning of my film career, and I hadn't really done anything like that with actors. I think the closest I had been at that point was being a stand-in in the same room that Paul Rudd and one other actor were in. They didn't want to use their stand-ins, but I got to stand in for Paco. Okay. So I got to sit there and watch Paul Rudd do his thing, setting up a scene.
It's free acting lessons.
Yeah.
It's basically,
so by the time that I'm with those 4 guys, and keep in mind, too, that I was a huge fan of The Office. Huge fan of The Office. So seeing Steve Carell on set, I don't get starstruck very often. I've been with Ryan Reynolds, and honestly, he didn't starstruck me because he's a normal person to me.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Steve Carell watching The Office over and over and over. This was only around season 2 or 3, too.
Yeah. So
it was at the beginning of The Office. He said, "Thank you for holding a door for him," and I about melted.
Aww. Yeah, I mean, it's just your hero. He's your Dolly. Yes. That's what that was. Yeah.
So to have all 4 of them acting and reacting with me was just, to me, it was an honor. And one, thank you for giving me that opportunity. Although I know you didn't plan it specifically.
No, but I did know you would be featured, and thank you for growing your hair and facial hair out for 4 months.
And you know people, and you know how they'll react. You know the people that'll be good, and you just have that sense of Simon Cowell. Yeah. You can look at somebody, be with them for 30 seconds, and be like, "You're Hollywood. Yeah. You need to go get acting lessons or something." You have that X factor that you can see other people's X factor that not everybody has.
I appreciate that. Well, most of my career has been about helping other people achieve their dreams, And so once you see enough people, you start to see a trend, I guess, of who has that X factor and who doesn't. There was one guy that I remember distinctly. He worked with us on a couple of different projects, and I just looked at him and I said, "You need to move to LA. You need to move to LA. There's going to be better teachers out there that will take you to where you need to be." And he called me like 2 weeks ago, and he's like, "I'm doing my first red carpet premiere."
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. He's doing really well. He's getting supporting and auditioning for main roles now. So he's really like a dream come true. But I told him, I said, "You have to move to LA." And so he thanked me, even though I told him forcefully at the time. He thanked me for that. And
which is another thing that you're good at, is giving that extra push in the right direction to people. Because I know you've done that with me several times, to where I wouldn't say it's like you see a weakness, but you see somewhere where I could be stronger. and you give that push of, I know you can be stronger here. Do this, and it'll make you stronger, and you're very good at seeing that in people.
Well, I mean, my job is to look at people and really just evaluate them, right? Across as a human, as based on their look or their spirit or whatever. And so I've been doing this so long.
Because even before casting, you were doing it. Because you have to do that as a teacher and an instructor.
That's right, yeah.
You got to see who can do the tap dancing and who can't, and
right.
who needs to be the lead, and who can you push to be that lead? Who can you make stronger?
Well, you can make everybody stronger, right? That's why I love learning so much, because it can take you from position A to position D or Z or wherever you want to be. But a lot of people can't see their own weaknesses, because if they could, me included, by the way, I'm not excluding myself, if they could, they
if you had any.
Whatever. If they could, they probably would have already fixed it by now. So sometimes I don't get to deliver the best news to people, but it's always from a good heart, and it's always to push them to the next level in life, in their chosen career or whatever, because for myself, I'm always pushing myself, as you know, in whatever I fancy at the moment.
You're an equal opportunity pusher.
Yeah, exactly. I don't push someone else harder than I push myself.
Yes.
So,
which I've seen firsthand too. You push yourself harder than anybody else.
Right.
You nudge people, which to most people feels like a really hard push because they're not used to it.
Yeah, but
when they see how much you push yourself, it's like,
she's going easy on me. So, yeah, that's one of my lots in life, is to help people become a better version of themselves, whatever that means to them.
Yeah. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break again, and we will be back shortly. Don't change that channel.
This episode brought to you by Dragon Repellent. It's guaranteed to repel dragons if they decide to resurface and destroy our modern world. Dragon Repellent is a scientific blend made from a special combination of 11 herbs and spices.
Warning.
These containers will combust under high temperatures, so keep them away from fires and open flames and any dragons that breathe fire. Dragon Repellent, guaranteed.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the show. We are here with JAMIE LYNN CATRETT, and we are going to actually talk about something that neither of us have worked on, but we are both big fans of. And several of you have probably watched the show called Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
We have no inside information, so no leaks, no nothing like that, even though the episode from when we're recording this is coming up in a month.
42 days away, Trev. 42 days away.
So if we accidentally say something that's a spoiler, we don't know that it's a spoiler. We're just making things up and answering these questions for fun. So I think we should take turns asking questions. We have a list to choose from.
Okay.
So if you want to pick the first one, we will both answer whatever questions we have. So go ahead and read one of the questions off, and we will answer however we honestly feel.
How would you rather die? Painfully in battle, falsely accused and beheaded, pushed down a hole in the floor by a White Walker, then turned.
And I also came up with a fifth option.
Oh.
The kiss of death from Cersei.
Okay.
Which is not my option.
Okay. What would your
option be? The way she described that just seemed too horrendous and too long and painful that I don't want to take a year of a painful death, or however long she said that she was going to suffer.
Yeah, I don't think I would want to kiss her, just because she's evil.
But I know also I don't want to be falsely accused. So
Ned.
Process of elimination, it was just like, I want my integrity when I die.
Right, Ned.
And then we also have either painfully in battle, which wouldn't be too bad.
That's my choice right there. Painfully in battle. At least you go down fighting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because pushed down a hole, it's like, okay, I get pushed down that hole, I fall for like a mile, but it's an instant death.
Right.
So that was the appeal of that one.
I gotcha.
But there's no honor in that.
Right.
But then we look at being a White Walker and turned, that's still in battle, and you still continue on.
Right.
And there's at least the possibility still out there that if they kill the White Walker King, that you can come back
The Night
to
King?
normal.
Okay.
Yes.
So is that your choice then?
I think I would rather turn into a White Walker.
Okay.
Even though I may be rotting to death for 100 years,
Gotcha.
dead.
Yeah.
But there's still a possibility if they kill him soon, I could just come back wounded and be okay.
So there we go, folks. I die painfully in battle, and he turns into a White Walker.
Still dying in battle.
Still dying in battle.
And, okay, so we're going to name 3 characters of who you would rather be. Would you rather be Daenerys, Mother of Dragons? Would you rather be Tyrion Lannister, who is very smart and knows things, but he drinks a lot?
Yes.
Drinks and knows
He
things.
drinks and knows things.
Or would you rather be Jon Snow, who knows
Who
nothing?
knows nothing. I'm going to have to go with Daenerys. Yeah, I mean, dragons, she's down to 2 right now.
Yes. Well, 2.5, because she still has the one, but it was kind of borrowed at the moment. But we don't know what's going to happen with that dragon. So it's still...
It's still
Can
alive.
you say alive?
I mean...
It was dead. It was resurrected.
It's under the control of the Night King. So getting him back, I'm thinking, is going to be difficult. But she still has a couple of dragons, and that seems awesome to me. So, but if I were to play a character, it would totally be Tyrion. Character actors are the best of all time, and I think his is the funniest character of all time on Game of Thrones.
He would be my answer for both of those things that you just mentioned.
Okay.
So I would choose to be Tyrion. I love his character. I love that he's so smart and educated, and everybody seems to underestimate him. So he's always got that in his pocket,
right?
That nobody thinks that he's brilliant until he ends up with Daenerys, to where she actually respects his input.
She does respect him. So basically... You're now
I'd be
telling...
working for you
yeah,
as her assistant.
Full
We've
circle.
been there, done that. Next question.
Cersei Lannister, long or short hair? Long.
I liked the long, but the short has been growing on me. I feel like with the shorter hair, she seems to have taken more control and been more of a strong female character.
By that, do you mean evil?
Well, depending on how you look at it. You see it as evil from the outside, but I still feel like she feels like there's still true intentions behind what she's trying to do.
Well, of course, nobody ever thinks they're being evil.
Some people do.
Not usually.
Not typically if they're playing it right. So I still feel like she's doing that. She's still trying to keep Westeros and keep everybody safe. And that's why she's sending everybody to the north to fight the battle, everyone to the wall, other than her people. Because she needs and wants to keep her people safe.
Are we still talking about hair?
Her hair represents how close she's keeping her people.
Oh my gosh. I'm going with long.
Run wild.
Just because I think she looks better with her hair long, personally.
She does. She definitely looks better with it long. I love long hair on gals, and she looks great with the long hair, but I think as a character, I think the short hair kind of suits her well at the moment.
I getcha.
So let's go to question number 6. Did you have a chance to read that article?
I read the theories on whether Bran is the Night King or not, and I understand where people are coming from, but there is no way that a Stark changed that much. There's no way. I refuse.
Just because of his last name.
Just because of his last name, I refuse to believe that one of Ned's children has turned that evil. I will not do it. I will not accept it. I will never forgive you, Game of Thrones, if you do that.
The reason I feel that it's actually very plausible is I feel that maybe Bran being the all-knowing three-eyed raven, it's his way of knowing this is the only way to unite the kingdoms. That if I can come in with these people and try and destroy everything, that they will unite, and it's the only way that they will unite, because him knowing everything knows that it won't work any other way.
In case you guys don't know, Joe is part Asian, and I feel like this is the Asian side of him saying I must kill all the kingdoms to unite them under one roof. That's where this is coming from right now.
The Art of War.
Yes, the Art of War. So,
I have read it. It was a great book.
I have
It's a great children's story.
Oh my gosh. So I understand why you think that, but I wholeheartedly disagree. You cannot convince me otherwise.
So who do you think the Night King is then? Do you have any theories behind that? Any thoughts of who it might be, or do you think he's just random Night King and there is no plot twist or
I hadn't
anything
even
going
thought
on?
of this. I feel like he's just another character that maybe 1,000 years ago was a good guy, and all of a sudden he just turned. I don't know.
So just like another race that they just weren't aware of at the time, and it's like in the times of old yore, and there were elves and leprechauns and stuff, that he was just a White Walker that
an
is
evil
now become
leprechaun.
a reality.
Right, an evil leprechaun. You know.
He's a very evil white leprechaun. It's really tall.
He's nothing like a leprechaun, but sort of like a leprechaun.
But with his pot of gold.
Who would you rather rule? Wildlings, Westeros, or Dothraki?
Honestly, I would go probably with the Wildlings. I'm not much for the Dothraki because they are all about fighting and violence, which is not the way that I would want things. Westeros, everything seems to be more, I don't want to say civilized, but they seem to be more conformed to be just all the same people, which, I don't know, I feel like a lot of society is that way, so I kind of go against that. But I feel like the wildlings are more the artsy side, that they're
the
more
free folk,
free.
right? Yeah, they're the free folk.
And they kind of do what they want, and they all love and care about each other and life.
Right.
And that they're not just going to go around destroying people, killing people, manipulating people just because.
I'm going to cop out here, and I'm going to choose one that's not on the list.
Go for it.
So, I would choose the Unsullied, which is an odd choice considering that wasn't an option.
I threw in extra options too, it's okay.
But they are relentless, disciplined, loyal, and they don't give up, you know? Even when facing people that there's millions more than them, they are loyal. So I would have to.
Don't die.
And they don't. It's amazing. So they're elite warriors. Why not choose them to be on your side?
And as that leader, would you also get the ability to look into the fires and see things?
Well, I guess so.
That would be pretty cool too.
I mean, why wouldn't I want to choose that if that's an option? Yeah, I'll take that.
Why wouldn't I want a flaming sword?
That sounds good.
Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. This has been such a delight.
What about the ramen?
I was just about to say, we have a couple bowls of ramen that we are about to try that we just had delivered to us. And we're going to do this before we close everything out.
Okay.
We've brought in Manchurian ramen. Right. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but I'm hoping so.
But it's the regular ramen that you get.
It's the 29-cent package, 15-cent package when it's on sale. And we are going to compare it to the to-go ramen that we bought.
That we got Uber Eats delivered. And I have to tell you, this Uber Eats delivered one does not look so good compared to the Marukan ramen.
And I think you said the odor is a little bit... I have no sense of smell. So
she has no sense of smell. It smells like an odd mixture of Joe's throwing things over here, of curry and greens.
Yeah, those are greens. Collard greens.
Collard greens?
Might be mustard greens.
Yeah, so not too excited about this one. It might be delicious, though. We'll see.
Well, the Manchurian ramen tastes just like it normally does.
I'm going to go with a big no on this one.
So we should
It's spicy. Very spicy.
Which, luckily for me, I can't smell it, so I don't know what to even anticipate.
And the reason we're doing this is because Joe and I love ramen. It's something that we just joke about all the time. Yes, we love ramen. Even the 29-cent ramen, 15-cent on sale. We love it.
Holy crap.
I told you. Spicy.
That is a fast kick, too.
Spicy, very spicy.
It was half a second of, ooh, that actually tastes kind of good. And then it just starts burning your mouth.
Yeah. I don't even know how that happened.
Wow.
Yep. So.
No offense, but I do not want to poop that tomorrow.
We're going to go with the Marukan ramen as the clear winner here. Joe's drinking as quickly as he can to try to extinguish his mouth.
Luckily, I just bought like a gallon container of water from the store, so I should be okay. But thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Jamie Lynn, for hanging out.
Of course, yeah.
A little while, and we will see and hear you on the next podcast, guys. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you again to our very special guest, Jamie Lynn Cattrett. A special shout out and thanks to Addison and Cecilia for all of their assistance on this episode, too. The Above Average Dose was written and produced by me. The theme song was composed and arranged by yours truly. Be sure to check out our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitters. And you can also check out another podcast I co-host, The Extra Unordinary, and other great media content by Moon Possum Productions at moonpossum.com. But if you'd like to show your support through a donation, you can go to aajoeshow.com, and all proceeds will go to help support the creation of more great shows just like this one.